All right, so today I want to show you guys how I make my ventilated inner covers. It's a little bit of a process, but this is how I do it. I'm not entirely sure why I thought setting the tripod on a shaky workbench was a good idea. But anyway, I'm using a 3-inch Milwaukee hole saw bit, and that's attached to my drill press. You don't necessarily need a drill press. Regular drill will work. You just got to hold on to things. Alright, so there's 4 holes on 4 sides. A little burr comb here. And do a little dusting to clean her up a bit. Now the hole saw bit leaves a bit of a jagged edge, and I've always heard that when a swarm is scoping out a new box, they look for pointy, jagged edges that might injure their queen. So I don't want to leave anything that might deter a swarm from moving in if the potential arises. Alright, so now that everything's nice and rounded off, it's time to put screen on it. We're going to use some 1/4-inch 6mm staples. They're the shortest staples I can find. You can see the side profile here. It's really thin material, so you want something really short. Also use a air stapler, the easiest thing on a block. Got some wire mesh here I picked up at the hardware store. Alright, get this piece into position. Now when I'm stapling, I try to do 8 different sides. Start with the corners, work my way around, then split the difference, do both sides, and then the top and the bottom. And to me, that's the best way to hold it down, make sure no bees get in or out. You don't want any pests being able to get in through there. Leave the center hole open for a feeder or what have you. I've also created these little covers here with screen, so if you don't want to use an inner feeder, you can easily pop one of these on and just keep the bees from coming up into your ventilated top. The staples leave a little bit of a jagged edge, so we're going to take a grinder and knock off those tips of the staples. Grinder makes pretty quick work. Of course, then take a sander and just smooth everything back out, so we got a nice smooth internal. And there you have it. That's a finished board. All right, so part 2 to my ventilation is the shallow super that I put on top. And basically whenever the condensation comes up through the hive, it needs somewhere to go. And this outer super allows all that to pass right on through and not get caught in the top of the hive. I drill the holes up at an angle, and then I put these screens on the inside, keep any pests out. It's a 1-inch hole saw bit, makes quick work of it. Just got to go at an angle there, and that'll deter any rainwater or whatnot from coming in. It also sits right underneath the roof here, so that helps out a lot too. You can see the feeders on the middle hole there, and then you got each of the inner holes. In the winter time, you can throw a piece of wood over top of the inner holes if you need to reduce the ventilation. And the same goes on the outside. Just throw a piece of duct tape over certain ventilation holes to reduce it if you need to. And that's pretty much how it's done. Alright guys, so that's it. I realized that a lot of this is overkill and a lot of it's not totally necessary. It's just the way I do it. You may have your own way. That's totally fine. You may disagree with the way I do it. That's totally fine also. I've got a lot invested in these bees, and I want to give them the best shot possible at surviving through the winter. And the same thing in the summertime. I like to give them as much ventilation as they need. They can fill up holes if they want to. I've had them block off some of those big holes in the inner cover completely with propolis. So they'll do what they got to do. Anyway, in the summertime, I like to run a screen bottom board to give them better ventilation also. And then in the wintertime, I take that screen bottom board off and I replace it with a solid bottom board. The whole purpose of this is that bees cause condensation. There's heat from the bees and cold from the outside, and hot and cold make condensation. And that condensation needs to go somewhere in the hive. If there's no ventilation, it can travel up to the top of the inner cover and form water droplets, and that water can drip down on bees. Now, bees can survive a good bit of cold. They can withstand it. They'll huddle together and they'll do fine. But what they can't withstand is water dripping on them in the winter. So we want to try to minimize that. I also recommend that you raise the back of your hive so that any water can flow downward towards the front, down the front board or down the bottom board and out of the hive or away from the bees. So aside from that, I also put burlap up in the top of the ventilated shallow super. That burlap acts as a wicking device. It pulls the moisture into it, and then the air flowing through that shallow super will dry that cloth off. So it also helps to retain some of the heat inside the hive. So burlap is something else I use. And when we get a little bit closer to winter, I'll make a video on how exactly I set up my winter hive and show you guys that process. So anyway, if you like what I'm doing and you want to, subscribe and hit the like button. That'd be great. All right, thanks guys.